welcome back to the channel, episode 14 on our TL Type S build projects. On the last episode, we finished the headlights and it looked perfect. What are we doing today, Brian?
Well, now the series is going to get really exciting. No disrespect to Miguel or John, they're good and all, but paint is really the coolest part of any build. And that's what we're going to be starting with today. We're starting at a basic level. We did the headlights, now we're moving into simple projects. A lot of guys can kind of attempt this at home. And we're going to show you the prep, how to sand it down, how to primer it, how to get it ready for paint. So that's what we're going to be doing today, so let's get started. All right, so before we get started, let's take a look at what we have going on the bumper. Now this bumper is the front bumper, obviously, and with a lot of road debris on it. Gotta consider a car going down the road at 70 miles an hour with debris is gonna have a lot of different chips. So if you get closer, we can see we have paint missing, scratches, dents. You can see that this is all chipped up. If you were to run your hand over it, you would feel a whole bunch of different bumps, okay? So on this bumper, we're gonna discuss that it needs to be completely sanded down to plastic and smoothed out. Now the rear bumper is a little bit different. On the rear bumper, we have spots. Now spots where it's been backed into, or maybe a suitcase or something's been dragged over the back of the bumper. We don't have chips everywhere. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our areas that are scratched and we're gonna smooth those out. There's no reason to have to take the 180 grit and go over all the surface that isn't chipped up, because really we can just scuff that up for primer. Now, let's go over to the front bumper and I'm gonna show you what I mean by taking it down to plastic. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bumper and we're actually gonna show you a sample area of what we're gonna do on the whole entire bumper. So like I said, if you run your hand over it, it's really, really bumpy. But on the sides here, it's not. So we're not gonna use our 180 grit here. We're just gonna take it down to plastic. And effectively what we're doing is we're taking the top surface and we are taking it, stripping off completely to make it smooth and ready for primer. Now you need a DA and you need a compressor in order to do that. I mean, you could do it by hand, but you're gonna be there for quite a while, and this leaves a soft and smooth cut. Now if you come and take a look at this, it is 100% smoother, and now what we're gonna do is follow the same technique on all of our surfaces everywhere. You can't just come like this and expect it to be okay. You've done nothing but just barely scratch the surface. You need to take it down to plastic. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll finish up that process here, and then we'll bring you back and show you what it looks like before we prime. All right, so we jumped back to our front bumper, and I really want to show you the process before I go ahead and finish it. Remember how I said I need to scuff before primer? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna do now. I've added a soft pad, and that makes the 400 grit much finer. So we went from 180, and now the higher the number, the finer the grit. So remember how I said this is smooth, it doesn't have any rock chips or anything? And you need to use your eyes and you need to feel, because if it does have a rock chip, you need to feather it out. Since it doesn't, I'm just gonna scuff this area, so when we prime over our areas that are sanded with 180, our primer has somewhere to fall into and has good adhesion. So it's very simple. All you're doing is scuffing the surface. We don't need to go down to plastic. Okay, so we have the front bumper over there, but the rear bumper, I told you guys, is different. Do we need to sand areas that aren't damaged? Absolutely not. We need to sand areas that are damaged. And let me show you what that looks like right now. So we are gonna feather out this scratch right here. And what that means is we are gonna take the transition of our plastic and our paint and smooth it together. So you're not even gonna feel any transition if your eyes were closed. That is called feathering out the paint. And we're gonna do that to all of our damaged areas. All right, that's one. Let's go and find our other scratches. If you come over here, looks like something dripped off. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna feather it. It's as easy as that, okay? We're creating a surface that is ready for primer. How about all those times you dragged your suitcase over here and left all these imprints in the bumper? We'll show you how to get rid of those now. Same process. So pretty much what I'll be doing on this bumper is I'll go around to all the damaged areas and I'll feather them out. And then what I'll do is I'll bring it back before we prime it. And the surface right here that's glossy, I can't put primer over it because it's gonna peel. So I'm gonna take a much finer sandpaper, probably like a 400 grit, and I'm gonna scuff only the areas that aren't damaged. And that's gonna create adhesion for the primer to stick. And then we're gonna sand that primer and get it ready for paint. Now, the DA sander, it's flat and it's not gonna get into every nook and cranny, but we have the same exact grit here in a scuff pad. This is equivalent to 400 grit. It is called a maroon scuff pad. And all you gotta do is just scuff in the areas that you can't get to. And we need this to happen, or else if you ever see peeling paint around the corners, this is the first place it's gonna wanna peel. It's gonna peel from the edge, and then it's just gonna wanna keep on creeping back into your paint. And this is where it comes from. Peeling paint from poor preparation. This is why you gotta remove all those moldings and get behind all the moldings so that you can get paint where it needs to be and it needs to stick. And it's just that easy. Now what I'll do is I'll go around the whole bumper, I'll inspect, make sure I got all the chips, I'll make sure that I have everything nicely scuffed up, and then we're gonna go ahead and prime it, and we're gonna be using a 2K urethane primer, and I'm gonna show you what that means in just a moment. I see you checking out the bumpers, and man, there were a lot of work to get to this point. Remember, originally we said that we're just gonna sand the sides a little bit. Well, these were actually pretty messed up, pretty chipped up. Take a look at what we've done over here. If you get close, you can see that the little areas where there's a little bit silver is where the pits were. We took this whole thing down with 180 grit, and we were very careful not to mess up any of the letters. We added a flexible filler where we need it, and it's good to go. Now, let's take a look at the rear bumper. On this rear bumper over here, we have that original scratch and where paint was removed, and we took care of all of the areas where luggage may have dropped off and scratched the rear bumper. We have a small gouge on the right side of the bumper. Over on the corner, we added a little bit of body filler to it, which again is flexible. So now what we're gonna be doing with this is we're gonna be heading into the paint booth to prime it.
Brian did a great job repairing and prepping the bumpers. On the next episode, Brian will be taking these two bumpers into the paint booth and they're gonna get completely repainted. Hope you like the videos. If you do, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit the subscribe button because we got new video coming every single week. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you guys on the next one.